Scorpio with Cancer. This is on paper probably the best, most compatible sign for Scorpio. These two zodiac signs understand each other extremely well. They're very comfortable with each other. They're very similar in a lot of ways. They're both incredibly deep, watery, sensitive, intuitive, and protection-seeking signs. When these two get together, and there's other parts of the chart that at least don't nuke, this on paper compatibility, things usually go very well. I think that Scorpio will find that Cancer is more than capable of really seeing the depths of Scorpio, seeing their nuances, seeing their intensity, and seeing and meeting their needs. And that's really like what we talk about when we talk about compatibility, is that like everyone has needs in a relationship. Everyone has wants and needs, and wants are great, needs are needs, and no one is going to be perfect, and no one is going to be able to fulfill all of your needs, nor should they. But there are occasions when two signs that aren't super compatible, they bridge that by communicating extremely well. And one person is able to be okay with saying like, I need these things, I need these things, can you do this? Hey, I liked when you did that, like those kind of things for me are needs in a relationship. What Cancer and Scorpio find is that, and they'll notice this pretty quickly, is that the other person, the other partner, fulfills their needs very frequently without the other person having to ask for it. It's just how that they both understand each other. They both have similar needs, and they both express love and affection in ways that really alloy and alleviate the needs of the other person. Scorpio craves consistency and follow through and loyalty and emotional depth and strength, and Scorpio, sometimes their darkness, right? They are searching for a little bit of they could use sometimes that sort of nurturing kind of parental energy in their life. And Cancer is searching for security, and they want protection, and they want safety. And Scorpio, and they see right away that Scorpio is incredibly powerful, that Plutonic energy is incredibly powerful and is incredibly protective. And both these signs, once they kind of get locked onto each other, it's sort of like a ride or die type situation. I think one thing to keep in mind, there are differences, right? Like Scorpio is sometimes just going to be a little bit darker and can be more negative, or can sometimes scare Cancer, right? Like when Scorpio gets hurt, if they're not a super evolved Scorpio, they can lash out with that stinger, or do things for revenge, or hold grudges, and also like very frequently just doesn't want to back down, right? They want to, Scorpio has sometimes an unintentional or unconscious drive to dominate and to kind of control. And Cancer is less aggressive for sure. Cancer, when they get extremely hurt, they are much more indirect. They're going to retreat into their shell. They are going to not be so forward. They're going to, again, mostly retreat. And it doesn't mean that that's weakness or anything else. I mean, there's a lot of strength in them being able to kind of take that space without causing overt damage. Now, Cancer's, that indirectness can be damaging in other ways, right? If you're not being direct, Scorpio is, a sign that can tend towards obsession with uncertainty, or insecurity with an unknown. And so sometimes there can be some challenges if Cancer is really just not communicating at all to Scorpio, or Scorpio feels cut off. That can create challenges. But the beauty of these signs is that they understand each other's sensitivity so well. With other people, other signs, both Cancer and Scorpio, sometimes have these intense emotional reactions to things, or they get their feelings hurt very easily, or something really bothers them. And for other people, for other signs, it might be hard for them to totally understand that. Whereas Scorpio and Cancer, they understand it pretty well because they've experienced it so much themselves, and they know how much it sucks to have some emotion just totally pour over, and they feel embarrassed by it, and then they feel judged, and sometimes they feel rejected, or other people just demonize them, or they say, you're too much. And so when that happens in the context of a Scorpio-Cancer relationship, it's like, it's okay, I get it, I understand. There's actually, in a weird way, a closeness that is engendered by another sign like expressing that, because they see the same kind of qualities in each other, and there's something very familiar and familial about it. Again, assuming there's other things that support it, these two will develop an insanely close bond, because they plug into each other in just really remarkable and comprehensive ways. I think the dangers to keep in mind is that these two signs, because they're so close and because they understand each other so well, there is sometimes a heightened risk of like codependency, or an imbalance in terms of the relationship taking too much of a role in each of their lives. But again, too much, every relationship is different, and what works for one couple isn't going to work for every couple. Nothing's inherently good or bad, but just saying, like, there can be just an over emphasis and over reliance on each other because they're so good at understanding each other, which needs to be watched out for. The other thing is that it's really important that these two signs are really focused on bringing out the best in each other. And so they work together really well when both are sort of evolved or more spiritually inclined, and they're really trying to cultivate a life and a mindset and an approach that targets the light and targets things that bring light to the world, helps both of the signs move away from some of their self-destructiveness, some of their self-sabotaging behavior, and away from also like self-numbing, because both of these signs are so sensitive and emotional. They do have a tendency to like self-medicate, or to sometimes find ways to avoid experiencing those intense emotions. So if these two water signs involve people that are like very unevolved, or they're really kind of toxic, it can be a little bit of a whirlpool down if they're enabling each other's like really bad, more destructive habits, and they are bonding in the darkest parts of each other rather than meeting each other and trying to encourage the best out of each other. Just something to kind of keep in mind, but won't spend much more time. This is usually a really remarkable and just fantastic connection.